Hi and welcome to AskSCW here on SCW on YouTube.com. Thank you for choosing the channel and choosing the video. Please subscribe right now. Leave any comments in the comments section. Please like and share the video as well. Answering your questions once again in the wrestling community, touching on WWE, AEW, Impact Wrestling, NXT and much more. If you want to be involved on the next AskSCW, then all you've got to do is leave the hashtag AskSCW in the comments section here with your question on YouTube, or you can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. All should be coming up on your screen right about now. Surprise, surprise, Kenny Omega is still the hot topic right now in wrestling. We're kicking off straight with a few questions with Kenny Omega this week. And the first one comes from Dylan Ketchum. And he asks, how do you like this relationship between Don Callis and Kenny Omega? I absolutely love it. I must admit, it feels quite old school heelish. It feels like it's a throwback to like the 90s. Kenny Omega feels like that, video game baddie at the end there. I just love it. It's very much throwback to that New Japan style. It's just great dynamic between the two. And the fact that we have them going between Impact and AEW is such a refreshing excitement feel in the wrestling industry. The fact that now Kenny Omega is going to be headlining an Impact Wrestling pay-per-view in 2021 just feels like this is the start of something, of what could be going on. The fact that we have the idea of Kenny Omega and the Good Brothers seemingly uniting, as old friends that they are the Good Brothers next going to be on AEW as expected? Will we get some sort of invasion angle? Will Impact Wrestling have had enough and come to Dynamite? There's so many different potentials and possibilities. It really just throws, lots of speculation, fantasy booking, however you want it. For me, it's extremely exciting, and it makes both brands feel so important. The fact that Impact Wrestling has drew some of its biggest numbers, in history. It was like a top 5 on Twitch, if I'm not mistaken, with their ratings. They actually almost compared themselves to WWE in the demographic of 18 to 34, which is just unthinkable. The idea as well with, AEW, the fact that they have the most exciting storyline in wrestling, the fact that their champion is going to other shows to, arguably expand their product, and the fact is as well, it can bring excitement to Dynamite as well. Both shows have done so well in the ratings since Kenny Omega became champion, and this heel turn is just the start. There would be a slight argument that on Dynamite last week that perhaps it was a little bit lackluster compared to the other shows we've seen so far, but I just feel that we're in the baby steps of this. Kenny Omega being on 2 different shows, it seems, every single week, arguably 3 if you look at Final Resolution from Impact last week as well. This is just the starting point. I think it's going to grow. The question is, will Don Callis remain with Impact? Will he go to AEW? There are some rumours going around about his contract situation, so that will be exciting to see. But as a dynamic, I absolutely love it. It's creating exciting television buzz, something to get us fans talking, and that's just simply what we want. And, as we go into 2021, who's to say New Japan won't get involved? Maybe we're going to see so many more different dynamics of, AEW working with other companies. I mean, Kenny Omega already as well, he's a AAA champion as well, so he's done Triple Mania this past week as well. So Kenny Omega is everywhere at this particular time, and it just goes to show how exciting this really is, and the possibilities, as I say, are endless. I'm loving it. I'd like to know if you're loving it as well in the comments below. Next question comes from Jamie, the controversial one, Holmes. And do you think Kenny Omega will go to different promotions and pick up belts like Austin Aries? I think it will suit his character well. Well, as we mentioned in the last question there, AAA, the Triple Mania show that was this past week, he's been the champion there for like 400 days. So he's already held another Promotions World Championship. The fact now he's with Impact Wrestling, there could be an argument that we could get Kenny Omega against Rich Swann, champion versus champion, title for title at some point in 2021. And that's what I'd say makes such an exciting buzz. And as a belt collector, this certainly could be a lot of fun. Austin Aries is certainly one that done this, but one that I grew up idolizing the idea of this, having so many championships, was Ultimo Dragon in WCW. At one point, he held 9 different Cruiserweight championships at the same time, coming down to the ring with Sonny Ono. The fact that he could barely put more gold all over him, he had them around his waist, on his shoulders, Ono holding belts, there was literally too many to count, and that for me was just so cool to see at the time. So yeah, I agree with you. With this Kenny Omega, he seems to be, he wants to take over the industry. He wants to do things his way, and Don Callis is there to make that happen. So this is pretty exciting. This is really cool, and it's something I think I could see happening. Will it happen is a different question. Maybe at the moment we're just feeling things out. We're seeing how fans react to this. Is it seen as a good thing or a bad thing? Maybe that's what is maybe a good thing and needed for this. It's baby steps at this particular point. But perhaps maybe as we get to maybe the first quarter, first half of next year, maybe there's an argument to say that Kenny Omega is holding 3 or 4 different major championships from different promotions. I mean, we could even have some small indie promotions as well. Imagine getting that exposure. And as well, I mean, there's another company that's working with AEW, the NWA, and who's to say Nick Aldis, he's held that championship for a long time. What if Kenny Omega was to become the NWA champion as well? There's so many possibilities. It's endless. Honestly, I feel like I'm repeating myself, but it's so damn exciting. I'm really pleased to see where this is going to go and where it's going to lead to. But as you say, the belt collector, Kenny Omega, it makes so much sense, and it's something I definitely would like to see play out, and something I think potentially could play out in 2021. Next question coming from Carmine Rocco. And who would you like to see Omega defend his AEW championship against first? Such a great question. I mean, of course, we say the excitement about other promotions. What about the promotion he's actually in? Of course, he will be facing Joey Janela on Dynamite this evening in a no disqualification match, but I believe that is non-title. As for a challenger, or his first challenger, I mean, of course, the money match is the rematch with Jon Moxley, but I can see that being at Revolution unless they continue to do AEW versus Impact. It feels like that Moxley, the rematch, feels like that pay-per-view caliber. They've built up to a point now that this match would need to be on pay-per-view. There's no need to give it away free on Dynamite now at this point. So I would say Kenny Omega should defend the belt first against someone else, because between now and the end of February, it's quite a way away. It's 2 months, and you want to see, Kenny Omega being a defending champion. So for me to give an answer for you, I've got 2 superstars in mind in particular, maybe 3 if I'm being brutally honest. The one that I think is the most likely is Lance Archer, and the reason for this is because he's seemingly turned babyface, which can be a questionable move, but there are so many heels on AEW, and Lance wasn't really getting much or enough TV time, in my opinion. So maybe now turning him babyface would make sense. He's always been chasing that world championship. That way, Omega can really establish himself still as the heel. Archer can go in as the supposed babyface, and maybe that match seems like that could be a likely one going forward. You could always have that underdog story as well. I mean, someone like Orange Cassidy. Okay, he didn't win the Diamond Ring, but he beat Chris Jericho on pay-per-view. We shouldn't ignore that. Orange Cassidy has had an amazing year. Maybe he could film that Darby Allin role, that person that was sort of, number 5 in the rankings, gets themselves that championship match, would be on the losing end, and would be almost like that safe bet for Kenny Omega to have that first match. A solid match against a great worker in Orange Cassidy. Could have that fun dynamic between the two, but that way Kenny Omega would be someone that would continue long-term as champion. One other person I do want to see go for the championship would be Hangman Adam Page, but again, I feel that this is a long-term storyline. Adam Page would be someone that would need to beat Kenny Omega, in my opinion, and I think that match would be best suited somewhere around All Out next year. I think we need to book Hangman Page once again. He feels like he's been sort of knocked off the block again after that loss to Omega. He needs to rebuild himself, push himself once again, and I think when he gets that next opportunity at the championship, I think then he seizes it and he takes it. I think it's going to be a big moment that day when we see Hangman Adam Page as the top guy in AEW, that top babyface. He's certainly got the potential. It's just a matter of when, not if. Next question comes from Austin Whitley. If Drew McIntyre makes it as WWE Champion going into WrestleMania 37, who should be his opponent? Great question, this one, and I've got a simple answer for you. I think the money match is Drew McIntyre against The Fiend, Bray Wyatt. And of course, it has to be The Fiend character. And also for The Fiend, I have a little bit of a stipulation in this as well. I need The Fiend to remain heel. I don't like the idea of him turning babyface on Raw. I found the stuff this week with Randy Orton, particularly the Firefly Funhouse tour that we had in Ring, the horrible jokes. It was all goofy, and it was the worst that, Wyatt had looked since going into this new gimmick. So I think that WWE need to do the program with Randy Orton, keep it heel versus heel, in my opinion. If you have the slight face, we understand it being Wyatt on this situation, but then I think he needs to just re-establish himself as that dark, dominant heel going in strong to WrestleMania. You have to remember that Drew and The Fiend both have great win-loss records, so it does feel like a good money match, and it establishes 2 of these top stars again at another WrestleMania. Of course, last year, Drew McIntyre winning the championship, and The Fiend, of course, destroying John Cena in the Firefly Funhouse match, segment, angle, whatever you want. It would be great to see them then pushed once again at the next WrestleMania against each other. It just would feel like a big deal, even to the outside casual audience, which I think is very important. I will say as well, there has been a rumour going around from WrestleVotes that we could get Drew versus Lesnar versus Keith Lee. I would be down for that triple threat match. I think it would be pretty awesome. We have had previous triple threat matches for the championship at WrestleMania in the past. I believe WrestleMania 24 and 25 would be good examples of that. So it wouldn't be something out of the blue to see. My only criticism with it right now is Keith Lee is not being booked the way he should be, in my personal opinion. The fact that Vince McMahon has even suggested the idea he needs to go to the PC for more training feels absolutely ludicrous. Keith Lee has not been allowed to be Keith Lee on the main roster, and I think that is what is damaging not just the character side, but what connects with him then in ring. Both of these things go hand in hand with character and in-ring ability, and he has an abundance of the in-ring ability, but the fact he's not able to showcase it, he's not just been, able to show Keith Lee for who he is. The fact that his booking has been so backwards with some losses and DQs and stuff like that. If that match is really going to happen, we need to start getting on the Keith Lee train now. We need to do it like we did with Drew this time last year and push him to the moon. So when it comes to WrestleMania season, it would feel worthy to have him in that match at this point. Lesnar, it's Lesnar. Of course, he'll come back potentially at a WrestleMania. That wouldn't be surprising, especially if the money is right. I personally want to see as I say, I'd rather see Drew versus The Fiend and maybe Keith Lee against Lesnar. I think that would be a better way to go in my personal opinion. But yeah, Drew versus The Fiend would be my preference for WrestleMania 37 at this time. Next questions come from Mike, Italian Habs Mike, and he asked 2 questions this week. Who should Finn Balor face for the NXT title on January the 6th? And how would you book Balor versus Kross if they save it for down the road? And also he asked, one issue hurting NXT is babyface champions having short reigns. How do you fix the issue, and who should be the long-term face champion? Some very good questions there. Let's start off with January the 6th, shall we? And I agree with you. I do think that Balor and Kross, maybe if they were to delay it, wouldn't be a bad thing. I know we had a conversation on Twitter about this. I think it would be good if that was saved for a takeover. The issue is the fact that NXT are losing in the ratings every single week. So they will try and do things to boost that rating up, and they will probably look and say Finn Balor versus Karrion Kross is the money match that people want to see. So maybe they will put this for New Year's Evil, which of course is probably an appropriate NXT name for a match of this caliber. Personally, for me, I would do a rematch with Finn Balor and Kyle O'Reilly. That's what I would do for the short term because, I mean, when you look at it, of course, these two had a great match before, but Finn Balor had his jaw broken in 2 places. Surely, he would want a little bit of revenge. In the meantime, we're starting to build up perhaps for Karrion Kross and maybe Damian Priest. They can fight on the same show as well. And at that point, maybe there you can turn around and say, well, William Regal is impressed. The fact he sees Karrion Kross has come back, had some impressive performances, defeating, who he ever defeats on NXT tonight. Maybe a Damian Priest on January 6th, New Year's Evil, and maybe says, look, you're back, you look fit, you look healthy, you're ready to go back in the NXT Championship picture. We're going to book this for the next takeover, and then we can have a steady build for a number of weeks of these two building towards that takeover. Because for me, I think, like you say, it's the money match, and it's a match that definitely with some long-term booking could really do some wonders for both. I'd like to see it delayed even further, really, but of course, it feels like these are the 2 NXT champions that didn't lose the championship. Of course, Kross had to vacate it. They're not going to leave it forever to do this match. So I think February or whenever the next NXT takeover is, whether it's Royal Rumble weekend, that's probably the longest it's probably going to be before we get that match. But for me, if it was my choice, it would be Kyle O'Reilly. Who do I expect on New Year's Evil? I do actually expect it to be Karrion Kross at this point. You mentioned about babyfaces and NXT champions. I mean, Keith Lee would have been that guy had he not been fast-tracked and pushed to the main roster. He would have been the guy that probably would have carried that championship throughout the rest of 2020. And unfortunately, what's been a mess of the NXT championship picture since he actually went to the main roster, of course, with Karrion Kross getting injured, Balor also getting injured. Balor, when we look at him, he before was the right guy to be the babyface carrying NXT all those years ago. I think you need someone that can carry a brand, and at this point, I think NXT struggles to find that babyface character that can do that. There's certainly more solid heels that are in that role than there is babyfaces. One that I would argue that would be very suitable for that role is Adam Cole. I think Adam Cole is a terrific performer. He does the heel work so well. He can be a terrific babyface also if given the opportunity. The only problem with this is that Adam Cole was a 400-day NXT champion already. I feel we have seen it and done it with him. Maybe Tommaso Ciampa will be someone who's better suited for that role because he's another guy that never lost the NXT championship. And he does feel like at the moment he carries and flies the flag for that old school, the best days of NXT, has that babyface thing going on right now. Maybe he would be the best name that could fit that role if he was given that opportunity again. Because I do think we probably will get Ciampa versus Kross, maybe Ciampa versus Balor at some point during 2021. And I think both matches will be absolutely epic if they come around, especially Ciampa and Kross, because last time it was about establishing Kross as a top guy. This time they could have a proper match where it would go both sides, could go either way, and certainly would be perhaps more exciting if this was given a takeover spotlight the second time round. Dan Williams, Mr. DWE, of our next question here and Ask SCW. Do you think WWE should put some of their main roster guys that aren't getting used back down to NXT to help with the ratings? Well, this is a great idea, and of course, what a better way to use your roster. You have no place for them on Raw or SmackDown, put them down to NXT. And we mentioned in the last question the fact that NXT, they are losing those ratings weekly. And one thing that helped, boost those ratings was putting main roster guys on NXT. If you was to take someone that's not being used, efficiently, maybe a bigger name as well that's not being used, that would be a great place to put them back in NXT. But certainly, the people that are in catering, those people definitely should be put to NXT. Aleister Black, what a difference he could make if he was brought back down to NXT at this point. Angel Garza, Andrade. I mean, I would love to see Andrade actually with the Legado de Fantasma. I think that would be quite cool to have that stable as a four-man unit, and Andrade could almost be the championship material of that. He could be the big heavy, but the one that goes for the World Heavyweight Championship, where, Santos Escobar can remain going for the Cruiserweight and defending that Cruiserweight Championship. As well as that, of course, Ricochet, if I've not mentioned him already, I think would be a great shout for NXT. I think those four guys, if they would be brought down to NXT, would definitely bolster that roster and would give it a special feel. I think you could do a lot with those four athletes. They're definitely not being used well enough on Raw or SmackDown, in my opinion. I think all of them would have a handy place in NXT. WrestleVotes did say as well about some superstars that they think they could get more out of. People like Cesaro, Chad Gable, Carmella, Peyton Royce would be great from Raw or SmackDown if they can do that with those superstars. Some of them are not getting the TV time they deserve. The only thing I would say though with the women's superstars, NXT's women's roster is stacked. I'm not sure we could take any more women down there at the moment. But maybe if someone, one or two went up, say Rhea Ripley, Io Shirai when she wins when she loses the championship, I should say, maybe someone like Peyton Royce could benefit with going back to NXT for a little while. Maybe she would actually, win the championship there, get a second run on Raw, SmackDown, become a big-time player. Time will tell of it all, but certainly I think it's a great idea that you propose here. Renier Porter, one of my favourite questions this week. You get the Universal Money in the Bank. You can cash in on any champion, any promotion, AEW, WWE, New Japan Pro Wrestling, Ring of Honor, and we're going to throw Impact in there as well. Any which one and why? It's a fantastic question. I really like this one, but I would do the WWE Championship. Now, I know it's the most obvious, but for me, it is the biggest championship going. Of course, the legacy of that championship has been going for so many years, and arguably, yes, WWE at the moment has seen better days, but if you could have one championship, for me, it is the most prestigious. We've had better designs of the belt, yes, but like I say, the history, the lineage, what it represents, some of the biggest moments in wrestling history and the biggest champions ever in the world have held that championship. So for me, that one is the most important to go for. That would be the one I would go for. I definitely wouldn't go for the Universal Championship. I feel that that one for me doesn't have that same lineage or legacy at all. It would be WWE. It would be the WWE Championship. Noob and Co with 6 questions now spread into 2 tweets. I'm going to call this Noob and Co Takeover, this next portion of the show. We've got some great questions here as well. I'm going to start off with these first 4 we've got now. Do you think Karrion Q is the mystery master of Boa and Xia Li? What do you think of the rumoured pairing of Charlotte and Andrade? Who elevated the women's division, Asuka or Charlotte? That one could be controversial. And what do you think of Carmella's new character? So let's start off with 4 great questions there. And first off, yes, I do think Karrion Q is going to be the person that is the leader there. It seems to look to be a female character from what we've seen of these brief teasers. We know she's in the company. It would be great to see her given a platform and something to roll with in WWE. What is this going to lead to? I'm still not entirely sure. We've talked about this a couple of times on this, here on SCW, and I still find that this is quite a mystery gimmick. I like the fact that it's not so obvious. There's not so many layers to it. It feels like these people are being punished. It's almost like, going through so much pain that they're going to almost be impervious to pain. They're going to come back, different beings altogether. They're certainly not going to be arguably the jobbers that they were before Xia Li and Boa. Because, Xia Li, she's not won a match, I don't believe, since April. Boa, is he even wrestling on NXT TV? I've not remembered the last time he even fought, let alone won a match. So it will be good to see they'll get some sort of use and some sort of role with NXT and Karrion Q as well as the leader. I think it makes a lot of sense. I think it can be a lot of fun. I certainly think it's something that could definitely work. As for the rumoured partnership of Charlotte Flair and Andrade, I'd like to see it. It's something different. The fact that we see Charlotte Flair, of course, that she can, we know that she's with Andrade, and the fact that it could really help Andrade's career. The fact as well that Andrade would be, almost like a manager type role as well for Charlotte when need be as well. It certainly would be quite interesting. I think it could be a fun dynamic on TV. The problem we have with this though is that Andrade is the problem really in WWE's booking eyes, creative eyes. Vince McMahon, he doesn't see anything in Andrade, so they're not going to put Charlotte Flair at a level down the card to be with Andrade. Andrade needs to come to her level for this to work, and according to Wrestle Talk, when I saw this report over the weekend, they dismissed it. It said it was something that had been shot down, so I don't think it's going to happen. As I said earlier in the video, I'd like Andrade to go to be in NXT with the Legado del Fantasma stable, the big heavy there. I think he would fit that gimmick. That's, it would suit as well for him to be the heavy of the group, the one that is the heavyweight, the one that goes for the championship. I think that would make a lot of sense, and certainly would give Andrade some use once again, rather than when he comes back being stuck on main event like some of the other guys that are being stuck on there with a minute, which, it's just a waste of talent in my opinion. As for who elevated the women's division, well, look, both of them have in their own right. You can turn around and say this year, Asuka, it's been her year when it comes to women's wrestling. The fact that she helped things during the empty arena era, we had that sort of period earlier in the year where her character really got over. At times, it's been a bit hokey and goofy since, because WWE, of course, have seen something's caught on, then they try to actually manage it, and I think that sometimes some things are more hit and miss, in my opinion. But Asuka's had a great year overall. She's been the Raw Women's Champion now for a lengthy time, of course, over 2 reigns. But, I mean, when you look at it overall, I mean, Charlotte Flair did this before. I mean, she came in when this revolution, if you want, started in 2015, along with Sasha Banks and Becky Lynch. Charlotte Flair's going to be champion many times since, but both are Royal Rumble winners as well. We shouldn't dismiss that. They both had some great matches, even against each other at WrestleMania as well. Arguably, some will say that Asuka should have won that match, myself included. But if I had to pick one, which is it's really sort of unfair, really, because both have done a lot, I would say Charlotte Flair is the one that is seen in WWE's eyes as the the pinnacle, the best female ever, and they treat her like it, they book her like it. She will be again when she comes back, and I do think that I probably would side with that as well, because she's been on the main roster longer. She was in NXT first as well, so she's been around longer in WWE to make that establish history earlier. But both of them certainly are in the top 3, top 5 performers in the not just in the women's division, but perhaps even in the company as well. So that shouldn't be dismissed from either. Let's talk about Carmella, shall we, and her new gimmick. I'm liking it. The fact is as well, like it feels like the fabulous gimmick of old, but now she's untouchable. She's just got extra layers to that character, and it just freshened her up a bit. The new ring gear, the new entrance music, the new entrance itself, it all just fits kind of well with her character. And the fact she's got like the sort of waiter as well with her also, I like it. I think the whole thing just gives a whole freshness to Carmella. The problem we've got here is that she's already in the championship picture. She's not built herself up. She's gone immediately at the top spot that she can be in, and if she's not successful, that probably means that Carmella will go back to probably doing nothing in the next 6 months, which is a shame. But perhaps maybe after this, I mean, we've still got Bianca Belair. That could be a feud going in, perhaps in the early part of next year. I do expect we will get Banks and Belair, possibly even Bayley in a triple threat match at WrestleMania. Maybe Carmella can make it a fatal 4-way. We'll have to see how well this gimmick holds up over the next couple of months, if WWE actually keeps with it. But no, I like it. It's fresh. It keeps her relevant. And of course, Carmella, it felt like she's got quite stale with her gimmick for a little while. So to see her come back in this sort of new light, this new gimmick, if you want, or refreshed gimmick of hers, it certainly, I think, is a breath of fresh air, and I'm liking it. I'm looking forward to seeing where it goes, and hopefully she'll have a good showing if the match still goes ahead with Sasha Banks at TLC. 2 more questions then from Noob and Co. Who will take the AEW Women's title from Hikaru Shida in 2021? And last but not least, a TLC question now for you. With Lana out due to the post-match ambush on Raw, who will be Asuka's tag partner on Sunday? 2 great questions there. Hikaru Shida, I think it should be the Dr. Britt Baker. I think that would be the best one personally, but I don't think that's going to happen. She's not been booked strong enough. She's got a feud currently with Thunder Rosa. Now, if she was to win that, maybe some momentum will come. It feels at the moment Abaddon could be that person. The fact that Hikaru Shida seems to be really selling and putting her over big style, seems to be intimidated of this Abaddon character. I think that AEW needs to start pushing other women forward as well. Abaddon, she's done most of her work on Dark, which for me means I've not connected it to it as much because I don't really watch Dark that regularly. But I would turn around and say that maybe she's the person that could be the one that will defeat Hikaru Shida. So I wouldn't be surprised if it is Abaddon, but for me, I would want to see be the Doctor, Britt Baker. As for TLC, goodness, this is a mess, isn't it? And I did have a little bit of a rant on this on my predictions video, which is available right now, by the way, on the channel, TLC, the predictions video, so go and check it out if you haven't already. But for me, I do feel it's a mess, the fact we're not even going to get this paid-off storyline with Lana in the match now she's been taken out. I think a safe prediction would be Mandy Rose because of the fact that Shayna Baszler took her out of the Survivor Series match, so I think she's the most likely candidate. Dana Brooke was involved in the match on Raw as well. I personally, and I know that you're a big Asuka fan, so maybe you wouldn't like this booking idea, but I want Asuka back to defending the championship and not being involved with the tag team division. I would like to see Baszler and Jax take Asuka out before the pay-per-view starts or during the pay-per-view at TLC. It's meant to be Mandy Rose that's the partner. The fact then it ends up being Dana Brooke. Maybe Lana comes back and helps them win the championships, so it's Mandy Rose and Brooke as the champions. Baszler and Jackson then focus their attentions on Asuka and Lana without the women's tag team championships involved. Perhaps Lana then, that is moved aside and we can have Jax and Baszler going for the Raw Women's Championship. That's what I want to see booked. But to give you a more simple answer of what I think will happen, it'll be Asuka and Mandy Rose. And if that is the case, then I do think that the champions will retain. Last question this week coming from Amber Price, Field Boy. Who does the best springboard clothesline excluding CM Punk? Thinking about it, I think I'm going to have to go with Ricochet. He does a lot of springboard offense and he looks the most smooth when he does that. Occasionally, he does use the clothesline and it always looks very good when he does it. Certainly feel that he's the best in the ring when it comes to springboard stuff, perhaps along with Will Ospreay. They just make everything look so smooth and, flawless when they do it. I know this, as I say, Ricochet, he does varied offense when he does springboard stuff, but he does use the clothesline from time to time. I think for me, Ricochet will be the answer that I'll give to you here today. But that's all from me anyway. Thank you for watching. As always, hope you enjoyed the video. If you do, then hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and set the notifications on the bell to all so you can be notified when each and every video is released. TLC predictions are available on the channel for you now. If you're a Ring of Honor fan, then of course those predictions for Final Battle are available also. AskSCW now is going to take a break for a couple of weeks as we go towards the Christmas season. So I wish everybody a Merry Christmas. I will be back before New Year to do another one for you. Yeah, I will see you then. But have yourselves a good one. Take care and have yourselves a Merry Christmas. You've been watching AskSCW here on YouTube. Have yourselves a great day.